This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, as always, is Ricky Widmer.
What's up, guys?
And Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
And what feels like, as always, as well, Jake, our patron for now the 11th straight month for, 13.
13.
I don't know
We're
how
on the
many
other half of a year.
I don't know how many months are in a year. That's my fault. But for the 13th straight month, we also have Jake Neverman joining us on somewhat of an emergency podcast, but also a scheduled one because we're talking about Jimmy Butler going to the Philadelphia 76ers. Jake, how you feeling about the move?
Well, I'm a bag of mixed emotions today.
We'll get into those mixed emotions, but before we jump into the whole trade, before we jump into how it fits for the 76ers, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and then also we'll be jumping into Zion stuff without Jake a little bit later, we do want to tell you to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. If you do want to be a patron, be on this podcast or the Onside Kick, the Rick and Johnny, the Primetime Podcast, all of our podcasts on here. If you want to be on one of them, pick the topic and talk to us for 30 minutes about it. Go to patreon.com and check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. But this week we're talking Jimmy Butler to the 76ers, how it affects the 76ers with Jake, then with ourselves, and how it affects Minnesota. And then we'll be jumping over to how Zion fits into the NBA, and we're also going to throw in Wet Boys in there as well. But if you haven't heard, it happened today around 11 a.m. Jimmy Butler is now a Philadelphia 76ers. Minnesota has traded Jimmy Butler and Justin Patton to Philadelphia for Robert Covington, Dario Saric, and a 2022 second-round pick. That's according to John Krasowski of The Athletic, Minnesota. And Jake, you talked about being a bag of mixed emotions. What is the most prevalent emotion that you're feeling so far?
I'm excited for the future. I'm excited. This was the move that the Sixers had to make. I mean, they were kind of stagnant in the way they were because obviously Fultz hasn't developed this year into the player we wanted to be, and the big thing that the Sixers were missing was a shot creator who could consistently take the ball on his own whenever Ben couldn't be able, he can't shoot, so he has to get to the basket. When he can't do that, somebody else had to be able to take the ball. And, for what we gave up, I don't think it was a lot, but, it's still obviously sad to see some of the players go. But it was definitely a necessary step to be able to contend in the future and now.
And before we get into the whole, what Jake said, I do want to go to you guys and get your reactions as well. Dave, kind of what Jake was saying, that it was a necessary move for the Philadelphia 76ers to go out and get Jimmy Butler, a shot creator. Is it a panic move by the Philadelphia 76ers?
No, I think it's actually the appropriate time to kind of pull the trigger on something like that. You're watching, you want to see what the waters were. Are we doing good as a team? And right now you got a couple guys who are off to a slow start. You weren't getting consistency. You look across at the Eastern Conference and you're going, okay, who else is doing good right now? Well, Kawhi is here and he's ready to play. And that Raptors team looks legitimate. Oh, Giannis, he's scary good, even better than before somehow. Thankfully, Boston Celtics can't shoot the ball into the basket, but they play incredible defense. So, they were the nemesis at the end of last year. So I think the Sixers kind of realized, all right, what we have today will not be able to get us past all three of those teams that we could run up against in the playoffs. So we got to make a change. And I'm glad they pulled it now because it was equal levels of frustration on the Timberwolves' behalf. But also I think as a lot of the community around the Sixers, I've been keeping a close ear to it because it's like a second city at this point. Thanks, Jake. And it just seems like there's just been a lot of frustration over the struggles early this season.
And Ricky, obviously looking at the record now, they're 8-5 on the season. You look at their schedule; it was a loss, 2 wins, 2 losses, and then 2 wins, loss, 2 wins, loss. Now 2 win on a 2-game win streak, and they got Memphis tonight at 7 p.m. Looking at what Jake and Davis said, do you think it's a panic move? And are you shocked by this move? Because we were talking about Houston, Miami, the Clippers, and Philadelphia was in there because they had the youth assets, but we really weren't thinking of them as a number one contender for Jimmy Butler.
I'm shocked, but I'm going to save that answer for the second segment because I'm not shocked on the side of the 76ers. I'm shocked on the side of the Timberwolves. But for me, I'm looking at this. This is a total panic move. And the reason why I say that is beginning of the year, everyone's like, oh, we're going to have Boston. Most people and us all had Boston as the one to win the East.
Yep.
Then next up, most people, I know that Toronto has Kawhi, but the 76ers are going to be there to compete. Then they start off, they're 2-3. Their first few games. I see Jake and his Twitter messages to you, Sean, at the Most Valuable Podcast
Those are
Twitter
private.
account.
Please don't read them.
And it's like, I can smell the just panic in Jake's text sometimes. And I know watching games when you're losing, you're going to do that. I used to do that as a Bulls fan before I embraced the full-on tank. But, I mean, for me, this is a full panic move. If you're the 76ers, you're thinking, we need to beat the Raptors. We need to beat the Bucks. And this is how you do it. You get a guy like Jimmy Butler because Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Markelle Fultz, the team you have right now, cannot do that. You lose to Boston game 1. You lose to Milwaukee. You lose to Toronto already in this season. You need a veteran like Jimmy Butler. That's why it's a panic move to win now.
Well, and I'm glad that Jake's on this podcast because typically when we bring him up, he's not here to defend himself. So, Jake, do you think it's a panic move? Because Ricky is reading our messages. Ricky's, thinking, seeing everything you're saying. I know yesterday you were talking about Brett Brown is screwing up last night. Do you think it's a panic move by Elton Brand in this front office for the 76ers?
I think it's the farthest thing from a panic move. I think what they're doing is that when we went into last summer, we were star hunting. We wanted, LeBron, and obviously that one didn't work out. We thought we needed that guy. We needed to complete our big three, and again, we didn't get that last summer. So this is a way, which not even giving up Fultz. We got to keep Fultz in this trade, which is a bigger issue than a bigger thing than people are making it. And I think getting the star now solidifies that we don't have to panic this summer, and we still have, I think it was $21.5 million in cap room. So if you free up a little bit of cap room, you could get another max contract on the team, which means if we do get another star, then we're good. But even if we don't this summer, which happened like last summer, we're still good because we have Jimmy Butler, and we don't have to panic going into the season.
But is Jimmy going to – and I'm going to jump in because Jimmy's got a player option. I look at player options and go, oh, he's not going to accept that. He's going to try to deny that to get more money.
Well, here's the thing is that was coming out after the trade was made was that including the $30.7 million total Jimmy Butler free agent hold, Philadelphia, it's Sixers and pretty much the deal was Woj said Jimmy Butler and the Sixers are fully expected to reach a deal on a long-term contract this summer. League sources tell ESPN. Sixers made the deal with plans to add Butler to a big three with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. But the thing is they're not allowed to enter into negotiation or agree on an extension yet, barring physical issues or Butler failing to fit into the Embiid-Simmons dynamic. Both sides are optimistic on long term. So they do want to agree to that real, and Butler does want to be in Philadelphia.
But let's see what happens this season, basically.
Exactly. So, I mean, it is very likely, I'll say, that it is, Jimmy Butler will be a Sixer for at least, 5 years once his contract is up. So he will probably decline that player option, but that is so he can make a long-term deal. So I think the future will, at least the big three, will be Joe, will be Ben Simmons, and will be Jimmy Butler. So I don't think we really have to worry too much about Jimmy Butler possibly leaving, and I think that's why the Sixers made this deal. But that's a great point to bring up, the fact that Jimmy was possibly able to be leaving. But Dave, one thing that Jake did say was they had to make this move. So it wasn't a panic move, but they had to make this move, star hunting, and they do get that shot creator. One thing I'm wondering about this, though, is because Ben Simmons is so good at distributing the ball. He is so good at running this offense. Yeah. Markelle Fultz, although he hasn't shown his ability to be a great shooter and be a dynamic scorer, he has shown his ability to drive and kick out and be a guy who can at least run the offense, not full-time, but in a very part-time role.
Yeah.
With Jimmy Butler, though, when he needs to take over games like he has before, he needs to score for the Philadelphia 76ers. What is this offense going to look like? Because Ben really can't be out there on the floor because when he's playing off ball, he's really only good for a big body because he's not going to be able to spot up and shoot. Same with Markelle, and you do have J.J. Redick, but you got rid of one of your best spot-up shooters in Rocco in the deal. What is this offense going to look like when Jimmy Butler is running the offense and he is taking over this game? Because at some point that's going to need to happen for the Philadelphia 76ers. That's why you made this move.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of high-low play with Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid. Those two guys can go ISO anytime you need them to, which I think is something that, look, I know everything in today's NBA has shifted from, like, the early 2000s was definitely, late 90s was ISO king. Like, that's what it was. It was inefficient, but it's what got the job done. And now it's all pass heavy, and the Sixers last year led the league in passes per possession. Fantastic job. But what he gives them is, if we need to score, we can do this. Like you've seen the last couple of games have been Joel Embiid has to carry this team in scoring because you're not going to get contributions from everybody else. So having someone like Jimmy Butler who can run off him and run and work with Joel Embiid, I think that's a solid lock. You have two guys who are excellent scorers. And someone like Jimmy Butler being a two-way player opens up that team. I know what you're saying about Ben being off-ball, semi-useless on this team, but the thing is the amount of guys who can drive and dish, and the more of those you do, the more opportunities you create around you. Like, defense is shifting and having to switch on these guys, it's just going to make better opportunities. So I think that you're still going to see a heavy movement offense on this team, but when they need to in crunch time, where, no offense, Jake, the 76ers have shit the bed many times this early season, and it's just been like, all right, you guys need to settle down. I get it, you're still a young team, and as much as I want you to be there, you're not there yet. Having a presence like Jimmy Butler out there to close games, and that's what he did for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Remember, before he was on that Timberwolves team, they were a great scoring team, kept up with anybody in the world, but you hit the last 5 minutes of that fourth quarter, and they got blown out time after time after time because they didn't have someone who could be a closer. They didn't have that calming veteran presence who could take the ball off the court, make sure they used the clock right, make sure that you got the right guys involved, and that's what Jimmy Butler is. That's why they got to the playoffs last year in Minnesota, and that's exactly what he will bring to the Sixers team this year.
And Ricky, before we go back to Jake, because I kind of want to bring him in on the offense talk as well, just looking at all the talent that is being thrown around here, Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, obviously wondering how those three are going to work in offensive situations. Defensively, this team's going to be phenomenal because Markelle Fultz can defend. Ben Simmons, I picked him as my defensive player of the year. Joel Embiid was a contender for defensive player of the year last year. Jimmy Butler's been one of the best wing defenders in the league, right behind Kawhi and KD at points.
And Paul George,
and Paul George as well, thank you.
Yep.
Does this make them the most talented team in the East? Not the best team, because that's obviously different. Because obviously talent really doesn't always equate to a best team. But are they the most talented team in the East now acquiring Jimmy Butler?
Maybe. And the reason why I say maybe is the way I would phrase it is not most talented, but these can go hand in hand. They've got the most big names in the East right now. Where the Celtics, Tatum and Brown, they're beginning to come names, but
Kyrie and Gordon Hayward,
those are the big names, but Brown and Tatum aren't as big names as like Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons. You have the Raptors, like you look at their roster, it's real like
Kawhi
I look at it,
friends.
it's Kawhi and Du Bois basically out there, and then it's like
let's give Kyle Lowry a little more credit than that.
Honestly, Kyle Lowry's playing like a Steve Nash-esque season right now. It's sort of disgusting.
But I'm talking more of like the Serge
Pascal
Ibaka,
Siakam.
the Danny Green along with them in the starting lineup, and then you got the Bucks where it's basically you look at Giannis and what he's able to do with that team, and I know that they would probably be a little bit more names than Toronto, but like I look at this 76er team and I go, all right, if you don't make it to the finals this year, fire Brett Brown. And that is what this is
always
putting
go back to this.
But now that like before, and even Dave off podcast has said Brett Brown has infuriated him this year. I have been on the train of Brett Brown is not the guy to win the championship with the Philadelphia 76ers. This is a type of move that accelerates. It's like, all right, if you can't get to the NBA Finals now in a LeBron-less East with this team, we need to look somewhere else. And if they don't get to the finals, I think Brett Brown is gone.
Before I push you more on that, I want to go to Jake because I want to get somebody else who I think is on the other side, unless Jake has changed his mind. Jake, I know you've been a defender of Brett Brown. Is Ricky overreacting in your mind to this? If the 76ers do not make the Eastern Conference Finals this year, then Brett Brown should be fired.
No, I wouldn't. I would say he's overreacting. Sure. I mean, Brett Brown has infuriated me at certain points this year. It's just frustrating. He's still making some of the same mistakes he made last year. But I mean, they just gave him a 3-year extension. I don't think they're going to fire him 1 year into it. And I don't think say someone happens to get the 4 seed and they face the Raptors in the second round, they take them to 6 or 7 games. Are you really going to fire a guy after he loses at the 1 seed?
Depends how he loses.
Exactly. And
you've
even said it right now, Jake. He's still making the same mistakes he were last year. That to me...
Yeah, but he's also been improving.
This to me is, all right, you're not learning from last year. And now that you're adding a guy like Jimmy Butler expects one thing. We heard it in post-game interview, like Sean before the podcast reading off what Jimmy Butler was saying before or after Friday's game, and Jimmy wants to win. Jimmy don't like losing. Jimmy likes winning, and got the Seinfeld reference out there. But
every time.
Brett Brown, to me, it's like, all right, we're adding a veteran like Jimmy Butler. It's put up or shut up time. Maybe it might not be, okay, maybe this year might be overreacting, but definitely next year when you get a Zaire Smith added onto this as a young player. Brett Brown is not going to last long if this team is not in the NBA Finals either this year or next year.
Let me go back to Jake. Now, Jake, you said that he's made improvements this year. What improvements have you seen in Brett Brown's coaching And do you believe that he will be able to manage Jimmy Butler, who has, in essence, killed 3 locker rooms? The D Rose led locker room in Chicago, then the Jimmy Butler led locker room where him and D Wade were separated from everybody else. And clearly he killed this Minnesota one. If you might not say he killed that D Rose one, you might not say he killed that Dwayne Wade one. He definitely killed the locker room here in Minnesota. Nobody can
I give it 2 out of 3, Sean, easily.
But would you say that more of Brett Brown's coaching job and responsibilities this year are to manage this locker room and make sure that a divide doesn't happen? And so 2 questions. What are the improvements you've seen? And then also, do you think more of his responsibility this year is to at least manage the locker room and make sure Jimmy Butler doesn't tear it apart?
All right, yeah. I mean, I think I've seen his late game management get a lot better this year. I mean, it's still shaky at times, but I think also adding Jimmy Butler will help with that, because a lot of times late in the game, they basically just have to toss it down to Joel Embiid because they have nobody else that can basically get their own shot. I mean, he's been getting something that didn't happen last year. It's happening this year. And every time they come down the court with J.J. Redick, he's getting almost an open shot, almost every single time. And I don't know if that's because the defense is lacking or if they're letting, I don't know what it is, but literally, if you watch the Sixers when J.J. Redick is in, it's every single time an off-ball screen with J.J. Redick. It's either an off-ball screen or he sets the screen for Simmons and pops to the top of the key every time. I don't understand. I guess it's smart. I don't understand how teams aren't stopping it, but I guess I'll take it as smart coaching. And also, I think he has the locker room won over. I mean, if you watch these guys, they really do buy into what he says. And I would say the biggest thing I've seen this year is I saw him yell on the bench for the first time in 4 years at a player. He's never done that. He's always been calm, cool, and collected, and he always takes things to the locker room and yells at players and gets it done there. But when they went on the road and they turned the ball over, it was 20-something times, he was livid. And I mean, it's not a good thing, but I guess that game probably – and then the next game they came over and they won by – I forget how much they won by, but they only turned the ball over 7 or 8 times. I just think he's actually showed passion for the first time, which I would think
he's like the anti-Tom Thibodeau. Tom is always yelling. He's always screaming. That man's voice sounds like it's been ripped out every time you hear him talk.
So at least hearing what Jake has said, do you think that Jimmy Butler coming into the situation, because now this team is more talented, and late game situations will get easier because Jimmy Butler has been a workhorse before. He can play long minutes, a ton of minutes as well, and we've seen him hit clutch shots before. Do you think that it will make Brett Brown's job easier?
Oh, it makes it easier.
Do you think that's why he should be having more pressure put on his plate because now he has more talent?
Well,
is that what you're going after?
There's that, but more importantly, you add a guy like Jimmy, just the baseline of you add a guy like Jimmy to this team, and it makes if what happened last year happens to this team, go to the conference semifinals, let's say they even play the Raptors and they lose in 6, that should be seen as a failure because of what you have on this team. You have all the defense in the world. You have Ben Simmons, who's the number 1 pick. You've got Joel Embiid, who's a top pick. You got Jimmy Butler, who's probably one of the biggest veteran names. He's not a LeBron James, but he's a big veteran name in this league, and you still can't. You can't get to the NBA Finals.
He's a top 20 player.
Yeah, exactly.
Top 15.
I'm just saying, without a doubt, top 20.
The thing I'm going to throw out here
hold on.
is...
Don't I'm not saying that he's top 20. That's what's kept out. You can put him wherever you want. For sure, no one's going to argue that he's not top 20.
But here's the thing I'm going to throw out with Brett Brown. And what Jake said, if we play the Raptors and lose in 6, then maybe he doesn't get fired. Everything going on with the team is also going to play into it. Look at the Bulls with Tom Thibodeau. Look at Jimmy Butler throughout. First year, his first playoff series as a rookie was the one where Derrick Rose tore the Bulls' first seed, tears his ACL,
Pacers,
and the 76ers go ahead and win in 6. Then the next year, they go ahead and lose to Miami in the second round. That's 2013. Then 2014, you look at it, they get beat by the Washington Wizards. This is when it was just Jimmy. Derrick Rose was out for the whole year, I believe. We lose to the Wizards in 5 in the first round. Then that 2015 season, that 2015 playoff, we go against LeBron, against the Cleveland Cavaliers, lose in 6. What happens to Tom Thibodeau? He gets fired. So just because you lose to a better, if you lose to Kawhi Leonard in the second round, that shouldn't mean that, Brett Brown, you're safe because, you lost to Kawhi. I think it'll be... People will look at it, Elton Brand will look at this team and go, hey, we should be better than this. Why aren't we beating the Raptors in a semifinal series? I'm going to get a coach that actually can prove it and win in the playoffs. Although Brett Brown, I'm not saying this is like, oh, he's a bad coach. It's just going to come down to he can't win in the playoffs. We need someone in here who can win with this team.
One, I want to apologize. I don't know why I brought up Derrick Rose against the Pacers. He never got injured against the Pacers. I thought he did for some reason. Second, though, you kind of kept bringing up expectations. And bringing a guy into this group, there's higher expectations. Your expectations for this team are now with adding Jimmy Butler, you need to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
I'm saying NBA. For this year, let's see how they gel. But with these names, NBA Finals in this East, NBA Finals.
At least, so if they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and lose, Brett Brown should be fired.
Yeah, I mean,
really?
Because you look at it and it's like, why aren't we beating because
the Raptors have the better player.
This team on paper should be able to go toe-to-toe with any team in the East now, with Jimmy Butler
Yes, but losing doesn't mean it's a failure because you also look at Boston. Boston's
depends on how you lose. If you go to 7 and lose on a last-second shot, okay.
But
if you lose in 4 and 5, that might be a different story.
Because even if you get swept by a team like the Raptors, fuck off. Even if you get swept by a team like bringing in the Jimmy Butler top 20 thing and swept, you're lucky it's your birthday. Happy birthday, Dave.
Thanks, Sean.
But even if you get swept by the Celtics or the Raptors, these are teams with still much more playoff experience than your team. And even with Jimmy Butler, I know Jimmy Butler's been to the playoffs plenty of times with the Bulls and also last year with the Timberwolves. But you look. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard has been an NBA Finals MVP. You look at that Raptors team. All of them, or most of them, have been to the playoffs for the past 3 years. And obviously, with their head coach, maybe that gives them a little bit of a less advantage because Nick Nurse hasn't been in the head coaching position, but he has been an assistant on that Raptors team when they have gone to the playoffs. And you look at Boston, this is a team that has battled LeBron in back-to-back years in the Eastern Conference Finals. They have Kyrie, who's a former NBA champion. You look at Gordon Hayward, who has had experience in Utah going to the playoffs. Al Horford, who's gone to the playoffs many times. Jason Tatum, who cut his teeth last year in the playoffs. You look at that bench as well. They have that experience. Marcus Smart was in weirdly enough, a front position role, or at least a lead role in that first Eastern Conference Finals matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And they have Brad Stevens, who's been a great coach in the playoffs. Has been a wet boy before. So
if we're talking about coaches who can't succeed in the playoffs, we watched Dwayne Casey get fired for this because he couldn't conquer LeBron Mountain. But where's the hype to fire Brad Stevens? Coach who can't win.
But
he's got all the talent in the world.
Ricky's argument is that he's dealt with injuries and he still went. Last year he went to 7 against LeBron, and the year before that,
look at it. Like I know Dave brings up.
Did I say something stupid?
No, he's laughing at the injuries and then comparing to the Sixers.
But to bring that in, if Dave brings that up, if Brett Brown loses like Brad Stevens lost last year, I would not call for Brett Brown's head.
Okay.
If you're leading in a series and then lose to LeBron James, and you have a team without Kyrie, without Gordon Hayward, yes, I'm not going to call for your head. But with the team that they have, also another thing that I was going to throw out there is I was kind of going through Jimmy's playoff experience. Rookie year, he wasn't really starting. He loses in the first round. Then the second year, he's starting a little bit more games.
You already went through this. What's the point?
No, but I didn't get all the way through it. And there's a point to this. He loses then, of course, to LeBron in the second round.
He doesn't lose.
Then the Bulls lose with him now being the main guy to the Wizards in the first round. Loses to the Cavaliers in the second round. Then the next year, this is his last year with the Bulls. Didn't even make the playoffs that year. I don't know why there's on there. So didn't make it. He did. The second to last one, he didn't. So Hoiberg's first year, he didn't. Last one, he did. And Rondo should have helped us beat the Celtics, but we didn't. And then in Minnesota, you look at it, and he loses to Houston in the first round. So you look at it this way. How much is Jimmy? This is me hot taking it here, and this is not serious, but also Jimmy's never been to that conference final. What's going to happen once he gets there?
Jimmy's the Chris Paul of the East.
What's going to happen once he... What's going to happen...
I think it's DeMar DeRozan. Or formerly DeMar DeRozan.
Or if this team gets to the finals, what's going to happen once Jimmy Butler gets to that big stage, gets to that conference final? Well, that's why I said Eastern Conference Finals first. Because what's going to get there because he's never been there. before.
But how does that correlate to Brett Brown being fired? Or supposedly
No,
being fired?
this is moving away from Brett Brown onto just Jimmy Butler.
Expectations of Jimmy Butler is
exactly.
to take this team to the
Well, you should be looking Eastern Conference. With all the Brett Brown stuff that I set aside, Jake, I will ask you, are you expecting with this team to be in the Eastern Conference Finals this year?
Well, I thought at the beginning of the year they should be in the Eastern Conference Finals, but I'm not going to set expectations until I see them play together. I have to see how Jimmy Butler and all them play together. But I would think...
I demand hot takes, Jake. Do you know whose show you're on right now?
Let him finish.
Yeah. It all depends who they match up against. I mean, if they come against the Raptors in the second round, I mean, tough luck. I mean the Raptors are the best team in the East by far right now. But if they come against the Bucks in the second round, yeah, I would expect them to beat the Bucks in the second round. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I need to see how the team gels for a couple games, probably a week or two, and then I'll actually be able to set expectations. Because, I mean, what happens if Jimmy comes on and just doesn't mesh? And then what happens then when you don't have those expectations? And is that all going to be Brett Brown's fault, or is it going to be on Jimmy? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how he comes in and gels with everybody.
So your expectations is you need to make it to the second round, without a doubt, and then obviously you got to play it. You got to look at the matchup and how
I
was
was
going
to say, is there a matchup like you're talking about this adding Jimmy Butler to this team? Like obviously the Raptors still have their player in Kawhi Leonard, but outside of that, like is there a team that now you think Jimmy Butler helps you conquer over, or makes the matchup much better for you guys?
I think Boston would be a pretty interesting matchup now with Jimmy. I also think that we need to think about the Sixers are going to add people with the buyouts that happen later in the year because they need to add somebody at least, like they did last year with Bellinelli and Ilyasova. It'll be interesting to see who they get later in the season with those. But yeah, I actually think
something in my
a good fit.
Yeah.
No, I think Kyle Korver would be a good fit. I mean, I really want to get Kyle Korver too because I don't want the Bucks to get Kyle Korver. I just don't want that to happen at all. I just think I think Boston would be a pretty interesting series, and I mean, they haven't looked so hot either starting the season, so we'll see.
Is the ideal role that you need to fill now for the 76ers after this, and I'm going to go to Dave next about his expectations, but I just want to stick on this since you brought it up. Is the ideal role to next fill for the 76ers team just a shooter off the bench? What are you looking for to help bolster this team, especially when you're going up against the teams that we've been mentioning, Raptors, Bucks, Celtics, etc.? What are you expecting this team to add, and what do you think they most need watching this team?
Oh, I think the biggest thing is adding a real four to start, the stretch four to start, because, I mean, as it looks now, down the stretch, they got rid of Dario, so Ben's probably going to have to play and guard the four. And, I mean, Ilyasova was looking real good if we would have paid him.
So is B. Jelly.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I think I think Landry Shamet played really well, too, and I think his progression throughout the season is going to show who they're going to add. Because, I mean, if he keeps playing well till the end of the season, I don't think they really need to add another guard off the bench. I think a four, I don't know what they're going to do exactly yet. I think Muscala's played pretty well, but he's hurt right now, so maybe they'll plug him at the four to start. I mean, whenever he comes back. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see who plays the four, and if nobody can grasp the role of the four, which, I mean, they don't do much in the Sixers. They just stand on the three-point line.
Do you have any hope for the younger guys like Jonah Bolden, or if we do see a Zaire Smith come back healthy, be able to kind of help fit in this team, or do you think that their roles are pretty limited based off the expectations now?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jonah Bolden could grow as well, but I've only seen him play in one game so far, so I mean, I'm not going to expect him to come play 20 minutes every night. I think if any young guy could pop up, I think it's Shamet. I think he played really, really well, and when they bring him and J.J. Redick off the bench and play together with Ben up top, it's dangerous. Not a lot of teams can stop it.
Well, and he's a guy, too, Shamet, who's, I think he was a 4-year player, a 3-year player at Wichita State. When you look at, Jonah Bolden, obviously he had time at UCLA, but then obviously went overseas and really hasn't played this level of competition yet, where Shamet has been a lead role and a lead role player on a team that was, really good in college. So it's not too shocking that he hasn't had too much of a learning curve coming over the NBA. But, Dave, we talked about expectations. What are your expectations for the 76ers? Obviously, Ricky's bringing up NBA Finals, Eastern Conference Finals, Brett Brown being firing. Jake's thinking at least second round, and, obviously you got to depend on the matchup. Where are you thinking, at least when it comes to expectations for the 76ers team, this new-look 76ers team?
I think that the expectations should be pretty much set at, as long as you're not facing the Raptors, I think there's a matchup that you have a very good chance to win. Like, I'll be honest.
Well, then let me bring this up. Why, and I just ran over from so if it sounded weird when I was off mic, but why can't they beat the Raptors? Because you talk about, Kawhi being a better player than Jimmy Butler, but also doesn't this help you beat Kawhi Leonard more? Because this is a guy that's going to be matched up with Kawhi Leonard, and we're looking at Jimmy Butler, who's shown himself or wants to show himself as the ultimate competitor.
Right.
So, I mean, how does this not help them beat the Raptors?
The problem is that Kawhi's a better version of Jimmy Butler. Like, he is longer, he is stronger, he's a better shooter.
A lot more playoff
and
success.
He's a better defender. He's had playoff success. He's been a finals MVP.
Also been on better teams, though.
That too. But, basically, as much of a help as Jimmy Butler is to this team, to have another shot creator on your team, someone who you can put the ball in his hands and feel confident, that Raptors team, and we talk about, is just the depth on that team and the level of growth. I'm completely wrong. I was like, are we worried about them going backwards? And it's like, no, Pascal Siakam is everything we hope for and more. OG Anunoby is stepping up again. Like, we're seeing the reemergence of Serge Ibaka being a top player, now moving to that center position. Like, they're finding the right ways to use that roster, and it's scary because that Raptors team is just legitimate top to bottom. They're 10 deep. They're the Orlando Magic of the East, who are in the East.
I don't disagree with that though, but I'm just saying, we talk about the Raptors not being so great.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, when we look at this, Kawhi versus Jimmy Butler, it's not like it's going to be a blowout of a matchup. It's going to be close.
It's close, yeah.
We understand that Kawhi Leonard's a fantastic player. He's taken over playoff series before. He's been the best player in playoff series with LeBron James. He's been the best player playoff series and dominated the Memphis Grizzlies in his last playoff series. Almost beat the Warriors in Game 1, which seemed like an unbeatable feat.
Yeah.
But also, Jimmy Butler has shown himself to be a fantastic player. And although, obviously, Kawhi's a better player, I still think that's very close. And then you look at the next players, Ben Simmons is better than Kyle Lowry. And then you also look at Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid's better than Serge Ibaka and better than Jonas Valanciunas.
That Ben Simmons, Kyle Lowry, one of them can shoot from the outside, one of them can't.
But
they're both excellent passers this year.
Here's my thing, is yes, but also who's a better defender?
Right now, it's Ben Simmons by far.
And also, Ben Simmons is much harder to guard than Kyle Lowry.
I would argue
also
because Kyle Lowry's shot distance makes him harder to guard. You have to be able to guard him from 30 feet out.
And you have the defenders to do that. Because if you wanted to, you could put Ben Simmons on him.
Yes.
And you know what's going to make it really hard for 6'2" Kyle Lowry to shoot? 6'11" Ben Simmons in his face.
Backs him down. He's got that big booty. He knows he's thick.
I'll still take Ben Simmons' wingspan to block his shot.
I'm just saying. Right now, Kyle Lowry is playing like the best of his career. Like, he's aging fantastic. He's got that Steve Nash aging going on.
And
he's having a great year, so I would not put it past him. Right now, Ben Simmons still is a positive on offense, but we've seen what happens to him in the playoffs. There's an easy recipe to slow him down.
It's and Jake's obviously going to bring up the fact that he played well outside of the 1 point performance. We know Jake, and obviously we know the Wilt Chamberlain picture of him holding up the one. But also, this is going to make it easier for him to perform in the playoffs. He has Jimmy Butler. He has Joel Embiid.
It doesn't change
he doesn't
his game.
need to be the guy. It doesn't change his game, but it makes it easier for him to do this because he has Jimmy Butler, a former All-Star on his team. He has Joel Embiid, who's better now.
So the ball's out of his hand more, and what does he do without the ball in his hand?
No, but I'm saying you're passing.
That's right. Nothing.
You're passing it to guys who are much dangerous, who could put up 30 points a night. So it's going to make the offense more dangerous. So it's going to take more pressure off of him.
Could it turn into ISO games from Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid? You don't get that team rotation of basketball. You don't get having JJ Redick spin and just sprint across the court on these pick and rolls. Like there are a lot of questions because when it comes to playoff basketball, the game pace is slowed down. You can really zero in on teams, and you can punish them for their weakness. And that's where I worry about this team.
Possibly, but we can also see parts where they try to pull away by putting Jimmy Butler and Joe on at the floor at the same time, taking Ben off, and then when those two come out, you have Ben Simmons running that offense. And Ben Simmons against the bench, I'll take Ben Simmons. Even Ben Simmons guarded by Kyle Lowry, although Kyle Lowry's fantastic. I'm not trying to bash Kyle Lowry, and he hasn't been great in the playoffs, but Kyle Lowry's been good. Yeah. I'm still going to take Ben Simmons versus Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, that's
what are you going to say?
The thing that and this is my kind of last point on it, is I know that if we look at Ben and Joe, and compare it to Cat and Wiggins, completely day and night from what Jimmy Butler wants. Jimmy Butler wants the attitudes of Joe and Ben. But here's the thing I worry about, and I want to see with Jimmy moving forward, is at first, everything's going to be fine. New team, you're getting honeymoon stage, and everything feels great. There's going to be two sides, the Joe and Ben side, and then the Brett Brown side. If they start losing to the Raptors or start losing to the Bucks and start losing some games, I'm not saying they're going to fall off the table. But
those potential playoff matchups.
if it's not what these players are expecting win-wise, or they get to a playoff series and Jimmy's like, it's not that much different. Yeah, I'm in the playoffs and it's a different team, but I'm still not getting past this. When does Jimmy turn on either Ben or Joe or Brett Brown? I'm going more Brett Brown. I don't think he's going to turn on Ben and Joe. That's what I'm waiting for with Jimmy. Because the last 3 teams we've seen, basically ever since Derrick Rose, and it wasn't his team in Chicago, once Fred Hoiberg started, it was terrible with him in Chicago. It's been terrible with him in Minnesota. It's going to happen again. It's a trend. Like 1, 2, here's the third one. Yeah. I'm just waiting for it to happen again.
But like you went from a player-friendly coach in Fred Hoiberg, but had a system that Jimmy didn't want to play in.
To his guy in Tom Thibodeau.
Well, you're saying his guy. He appreciates Tom Thibodeau's work ethic. He clearly is not a fan of 41 fucking minutes a night, in his own words.
And he was too young before to say, hey, Tom, maybe.
And Brett Brown, who is a player-friendly coach.
Well, he was a rookie.
Who has a system that they use, but that system is very, very malleable. Like, they have not been like, this is our go-to, this is how we run our offense.
Yeah, it's not like D'Antoni 7 seconds.
Exactly. So, like, I think that means that I think that he'll be a pretty good fit. Like, Jake, what do you think about, like, Brett Brown plus Jimmy Butler? Do you think they're going to be on the same page, or do you think it's going to be like, it'll take a while to get them kind of in the groove?
I think it'll obviously take a little bit, but I think it'll be fine. I think what Brett Brown's shown is whenever he gets a player, he'll adjust his system to fit them and play them in the best situation that they can be put in. And I think he'll do the same with Jimmy Butler.
Well, I think one thing, too, is, the question is, how do you think it won't work? I mean, like, in what ways do you see possibly the marriage of Brett Brown and Jimmy Butler not working out? With him being the coach, because obviously, Brett Brown has been able to put players into the right situation, but even then, Jimmy Butler arguably was in the right situation in Minnesota, and obviously, the franchise's ability to want to put Cat and Wiggins in the forefront and not Jimmy kind of pissed him off. I mean, do you think that Jimmy's not going to be able to mesh well with Joel and Ben Simmons because he's not really getting that shine? I mean, he's going to get a contract extension, and these guys work their asses off, or it looks like they do. But, I mean, which ways do you not think the Brett Brown and Jimmy Butler marriage can't work, or even the Jimmy Butler and 76ers marriage can't work?
Yeah, I think I could see a problem with usually late in the game we go to Joe for a basket. I mean, usually it's him just posting up or him taking somebody on an ISO, and maybe Jimmy wants to be the guy to take that final shot. And I mean, I don't think Embiid and Simmons doesn't give a crap because he knows he can't shoot. So, I mean, he's not going to get the last shot. I think one common goal they're all going to share is they just want to win. They don't care. I don't think Embiid cares about putting up numbers. I don't think Ben cares about obviously doesn't care about putting up numbers. He put up 1 point in the playoff game. But I think that Jimmy, like he said in the past, all he wants to do is win. And I think every single person in the Sixers organization and on the team feel the same exact way. And no matter whatever they have to do to get to the outcome, they'll all do it.
Now, let me bring up this, because when you were talking about this, it just popped in my head, and I want to go to Ricky.
Mm-hmm.
Can Ben Simmons turn into a more athletic Draymond Green in the fact that he doesn't care about putting up numbers?
No.
He'll be able to dish the ball out. He'll be able to get blocks, get steals, get boards. He doesn't need to put up 20 a night. Do you think that's possible?
I mean, I don't know if it's exactly possible, but I think it's one of those where we're kind of talking, this is going into the, all right, let's try to fit a mold that the Warriors do, where it's like, hey, I don't need to score points. Like, you could be that guy that, hey, I don't need to score points. I'm just going to do these things really well and then maybe get my 10 a night and be fine. If he did that and the team is winning, I don't think they're upset about it. The thing that I look at, and like, I agree, Ben, Joe, and Jimmy are all going to be on the same page. They want to win. But I just wonder, and this will be an end of the season thing, this won't be a during the season thing. If this team falls, let's say falls this year in the second round, and then fast forward to next year's playoffs, Jimmy, brand new contract with the 76ers, they do it all again. When does Jimmy look and go, this is not what I signed? Now he's saying, this is not what I signed up for. Like, that's what I worry about, where it's like early on, it's going to be great, but I am waiting more so with the Brett Brown side. I am waiting for, maybe it's because I don't expect this team to go to the finals, to, if they get matched up with the Raptors, go to the Eastern Conference Finals. When is the relationship between Jimmy and Brett Brown going to turn sour?
Well, that's fair. I think after this season, and then if it happens again the next season, I think then you could start bringing up the question of, Brett Brown's coaching, future, because obviously that's 3 straight years in a row where you're losing in the second round or you're losing in the playoffs, and you're not getting to the desired goal of the Eastern Conference Finals or at least to the NBA Finals. And
especially if let's say the Raptors go and they beat the Warriors somehow.
Yeah,
not saying it's going to happen.
Or even if Kawhi leaves Toronto and that team, obviously gets worse. So obviously I think that could, definitely be a possibility. But I think the biggest thing, and this keeps being brought up, is their will to win. I mean, Joel Embiid has shown nothing but wanting to be the best. Yeah. And being the best entails winning. And I think that's going to be something where Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid are going to be aligned. And Ben Simmons, so far, like Jake said, he's a team player. He's not going to care about his points. He's just caring about winning. He's caring about, being a part of this team. He's not really a big personality. He's a guy that, enjoys his things. He does his stuff on Instagram. But, I mean, you don't really see him, getting frustrated too much. And you don't see him, being super vocal about, his frustrations with the team too much in the media. So that's something where I think they're going to work together. And I think the only way it's going to happen is not really if their attitudes change, because I don't think their attitudes will change. It's just if the product and the expectations aren't met of winning. And that's why I kept bringing up the expectations. But obviously the contract extension is going to happen with Jimmy Butler, or most likely going to happen with Jimmy Butler and the Philly 76ers. We said very likely. Is there a way that this, if the extension is met, Ben Simmons is there, Joel Embiid is there, and this team doesn't win finals, and this team doesn't go to the finals in any of the 6 years that they'll have Jimmy Butler if he signs a 5-year deal or if it's a 4-year deal. Right. I don't think he can sign a Supermax. So let's just say 5 years, including this one. Is it a failure, this deal a failure for the Philadelphia 76ers if they do not make a final appearance or even win a finals in Jimmy Butler's tenure with the 76ers? Jake, I'll go to you first.
I mean, if you trade for this star to complete your big three and you don't make the finals for 5 years, I would say that's pretty much a failure. But, I mean, it also depends. If the Warriors stay together for 5 more years, then, hell, maybe I don't want to go to the finals and get swept.
I don't know. That's strong, Jake. I mean, I'm with you. I think it's a failure if you can't make it to the finals, period. I think if you make it to the finals and you go, you get 2 losses in the finals, I would be probably tempered expectations if it was Warriors. If it was anybody but the Warriors coming out of that West and we lost back-to-back, I'd be pissed. Yeah. I'd be just straight
even if
up
it's
pissed.
Super Suns?
Yeah. When they flip and win 40 more games, just like the switch of a light. I would be super disappointed if you weren't able to capture something in the finals. You need to have something tangible to coming out of this.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Failure for Jimmy. If they don't, it's a failure for Jimmy, not for the 76ers. You want to know why? Yeah. They've got their pick this year. Next year, they got 2-21, 1-20. You didn't give up first-round pick.
They're not going to be great picks.
You look at it and I go, for what you gave up, I mean, Rocco and Saric were good, but it's
they were part of the original process.
Jimmy Butler is way better, and if you're not winning a finals after 5 years, that's more on Jimmy than it is on you as a team.
See, I don't know if it's on Jimmy, but the reason I framed it that way was because I don't think it's a failure for what you said. Because
they didn't give up. If they gave up a first, there were 2 firsts. All right, and then maybe we're giving up the future.
You didn't give up the farm. And I mean, is Jimmy Butler? Would you rather have Jimmy Butler or Dario Saric and Robert Covington? I'd rather have Jimmy Butler.
Yep.
And it's you made your team better. It's as simple as that. And maybe it's just not in the cards that your team wins an NBA Finals. Maybe it's not in the cards that your team goes to the NBA Finals. But you made a move to push your team towards that expectation. And that's a step. And obviously it doesn't mean that that's going to happen. And then maybe it is a coaching problem. Maybe it's just the ability of them not maybe being able to mesh together. I don't think it's a failure, though, on the 76ers organization, because I don't think you're doing something where you're building up a new dynasty in Minnesota. You're giving up pieces that would have helped you win a championship. Because the pieces that are going to help you win a championship are the ones that you just acquired, and it's Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, the one thing that you, Jake, I have to assume on your behalf, and you can please confirm for me, this is a Sixers team who is constantly making moves, constantly trying to improve. So, I don't know how you could get mad at them. Yes, Rocco and Dario were great pieces from, the start of the process, really. But, they are pieces. They are not stars that you build around. They are just guys who help fill in the holes. And I have every faith that this team's going to go out and try to find another piece to fit in better with this roster. And then next year, they're going to do the same thing. This is not a team that rests on, we're going to bring back our core and just tweak it a little bit. Look at what the Wizards are doing right now. They're struggling hard. And guess what they've done in the past couple of years? Nothing. They've kept their same group together. They've not made any changes, and they can't get anywhere. That's just a team in frustration. They're in NBA hell right now. And we see this team, and I'm like, look, you got young talent. You're in a great position. You're going to keep tweaking. You're going to keep adding. You're going to keep changing. And that's what they need to do, and that's what I'm happy to see. The one thing, it's a sad thing. It's like I just look over at the other half, and I go, Milwaukee changed head coaches from the worst head coach to a top 10 head coach, potentially better than that, depending on your rankings. Like, and we see the day and night difference of what a head coach does for a team. And I wonder, I don't want to go full Ricky. I don't want to agree with him 100%, but I think it's a valid question to go, we'll see what Brett Brown can do now that he has his talent. But like, if they struggle, if we see them lose in a manner that is completely the fault of coaching, bad lineups, bad rotations, bad time management, bad whatever you want to chalk it up to, like, then you have to start wondering. That's the piece that, like, we're going to change players. Are you going to have the balls to change coaches?
All right. Here is the final question, and then after we all answer this final question, we'll go to final thoughts. This is my favorite question to ask with every 76ers big move. It's my favorite question to talk about with the Sixers. Yep. Jake, is the process complete now with Jimmy Butler being a Philadelphia 76er?
I mean, yeah. I mean, you'd have to say, like, moves-wise, you'd have to say, yeah. I mean, they traded away Robert Covington, who's been there. He was the only player who'd been there since the very start of the process. And like, he's the one who hurts to go. But, I mean, you trade him and Dario, and the only thing that could maybe complete the process is changing your head coach, but I don't think that happens in the next couple of years. So I would say this is the closest we're going to get to finishing the process for a long time.
Is the process complete, David Oster?
I want to say yes. The process was to assemble a team of stars. They have assembled a team of stars. They've got 3 guys who are legit all-NBA talent. 100% say it's complete.
No.
Ricky?
No, it's not. And I'm going to relate it to my Cubs. Much like Steve Bartman, until we were able to get Steve Bartman that World Series ring and all that kind of faded away, it was not complete. This is not complete until you can send Sam Hinkie a NBA Finals ring.
Adam Silver will die before he gets it.
He's getting the replica that they give out in the fucking promotion games.
Over Adam Silver's grave.
Once you can say, hey, you know what? We kind of hate for what you did, and yeah, we're bad a lot, but here you go. Here's your ring. The process ain't over until you win
I feel like you're moving the goalposts on this one. Like, the OG process, Jake, correct me if I'm wrong, was to tank to get enough stars to compete for a championship. Right? That was the scope of it?
100%.
So you're just moving the goalposts on us.
I'm not a Sixer fan, so like I don't care what your process is. The process is to win a championship.
That
should be the only process.
Man, these words basically don't mean anything.
They don't
mean
anything.
Hearing right now.
I think
this is. I like you anyways, Dave.
This is my take, and I think this is what we should. I probably shouldn't be saying this on the podcast, but if you want to make a ton of money, because this is the truth, you should go out and get like the fabric of the sweatshirt, sweat jumpsuit, Rocky jumpsuit. Third outfits, the city outfits for the city uniforms for the 76ers. Yeah. Get that type of fabric. Yep. All right. And then in the red, white, and blue, have processes complete and have a full bar. Sell that shit, Philadelphia. You'll make so much money.
Oh my God, you're right.
I don't know if you should put that. That's what I was saying.
That's why this is getting cut. We're gonna do this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can make a ton of money because the process is complete. It is done. Like Dave said, it was all about tanking and getting stars. This is the core. You're gonna re-sign Jimmy Butler. You have your big 3: Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler. I think this core can compete with the title contenders in the East. Probably not the Warriors, but everybody else in the Western Conference. They have the core to compete. So this is now the time where you got to see what the process does. This was Sam Hinkie's idea. Now you got to see what they can do. And maybe you need to make some changes, like at the coaching position. Maybe you need to add some players on the bench. But that's not the process. The process is getting the players, and you got it. This is your core. Now you need to run with it. Markelle Fultz growing and becoming a better player is just a sweetener on the process. Changing coaches and possibly getting a ring is just a sweetener. But the process is complete in my mind, and I think people should start printing shirts. Hot off the presses, come and get them. But final thoughts on the Jimmy Butler trade. Jake, I want to end with you because you're probably going to have the most optimistic take. Ricky, we'll go to you.
Oh, me?
Yeah. Final thoughts on this.
No, my final thought is let's see what they can do. Let's see how they can compete in the East. And on non-76er news, I can't wait for this offseason to see the next process in the Celtics, because right now they have between 18 and 22 for those 5 picks.
That's not a process. That's just...
They're going to trade for stars.
That's just steroids.
They're going to trade for something.
I mean, it's just a shame that, they only got like a 20th overall pick for Markelle Fultz. It's a bit silly, right, Jake? Right?
Highway robbery. Highway robbery.
I'm optimistic. I think this team is going to be fantastic this year. I'm going second round. I will go second round. I think that's
worst.
me being that's the entry thing is you get to the second round again and let's see what you can do. I want to know the matchup. I can't guarantee anything beyond that.
All I can say is that obviously, again, like you guys, I'll hark on this. You guys have to, see what happens because we haven't seen these players play together.
Yeah.
This team could be, the all-star team.
This is the hot
in the East.
take reaction.
It's. I think it's a fantastic move. I don't think you're hurting your team. I think you're only helping your team if you fill the 76ers. We'll get on the Minnesota Timberwolves side in the next topic. But what I want to end on is I cannot wait till March 6th, boys. That's all I'll say.
We got to buy them tickets now.
I don't want to release
the prices are going up.
Release the whole idea, but I cannot wait till March 6th when we see Jimmy Butler back in Chicago, but in a Philadelphia 76er uniform. Hopefully we will get the full 76ers versus the full Bulls because it's going to be a fucking blowout.
God.
Nah, Jimmy will sit.
General source.
No, I mean he's finally out of Minnesota, so he's going to be playing 41 minutes a night and be happy about it. Jake, end us on a high note on your 13th straight month, and you guys got Jimmy Butler. What a time! You were trashing Lonzo Ball, and we're talking about Pat Bev punching, beating up Lonzo Ball the last time, and now we're talking about Jimmy Butler being on the 76ers. Final thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I just had to sit back. I did this a couple hours ago. Realized 4 years ago we were playing with Tony Roten, Hollis Thompson, Henry Sims, and Nerlens Noel. Now we have Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Jimmy Butler. So for anybody who says the process doesn't work, you can go suck one. I mean, it obviously.
I mean,
Keeping it classy.
the Warriors will tell you their process is a little better, but okay.
Yeah, they were bad for 40 years, and then they finally got good.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, that I'm glad I ended it with you. I think it just speaks on the maturity of the core and the belief is there in these kids. And you look at Ben Simmons being 20 years old, Joe being as young as he is, Markelle as well. I mean, you're making this move because you're investing in the core that you have in the process. And there's still growth to be made in this core, and this team's going to get better. So I think 76ers expectations should be high and should be bright because, like Jake said, the process is only getting better, and everyone else can suck one. So Jake, thank you for joining us. As always, it was a fun time, and we appreciate your loyalty as a patron. If you want to be a patron, check out patreon.com/MostHailPodcast. You can be on the Fast Break Primetime Podcast, on Sidekick, Rick and Johnny Podcast, or Patreon Podcast each and every month. Jake, thank you so much.